real story begins. Because early on in his NBA career, the Atlanta Hawks noticed that Eddie's entourage was filled with a lot of shady characters. As per usual in the 1980s for the NBA, Eddie Johnson would begin to use cocaine, and it was because of this drug use that his head coach Hubie Brown would bluntly state he has the tools to be one of the greatest players in the league. The only person standing in his way is Eddie Johnson. And as it turns out, Eddie Johnson would just never move out of his own way. Because now, looking at the summer of 1980, we have again a couple of drug dealers breaking into the apartment of Eddie Johnson, and this is when they began shooting at him.
Going crazy.
To escape, Johnson had to jump out of a second story.
How much are you getting paid, bro? He's in this house. He's in the NBA. Good player in the NBA, and he's in this raggedy apartment. What the heck?
And as it turns out, the guy who shot at Johnson,
he did not move after he got the money from his contract.
was a pimp who told detectives that Eddie beat up a woman who delivered drugs to him, which is why the shooters retaliated. Then, 3 weeks later, Johnson was arrested for cocaine possession. However, he also would deny he had a drug problem, stating at the time, "No, I don't. I'm covered. You all think athletes use drugs. That's society." With this statement in mind, and with the fact that he was a rich NBA player in mind, Eddie was then arrested for stealing a Porsche from a car dealership. In the words of Eddie Johnson, "The guy thought I was going to buy a car. He let me test drive it, and I stayed a little longer than usual." In other words, Eddie test drove a car and then stole it, and it was around this time that during
isn't he in the NBA? Why is he stealing stuff?
Training camp for the Hawks, Johnson would tell the press that he was getting traded to the Showtime Lakers. However, this would never happen as Eddie's erratic behavior would continue. The end result here was Eddie Johnson being dragged off the floor by
I'm trying to fix my face cam. I don't like how it looks right now. Let's do like this.
Policemen during an NBA practice and involuntarily being committed to a mental hospital. Despite this, somehow Johnson would bounce back at least on the floor. He would make the All-Star game again in 1981 and again was a starter. However, throughout the rest of his playing career, Johnson would remain in news headlines, but for the wrong reasons. Eddie's last season in the NBA was with the Seattle Supersonics, and at this point, he had become a shell of the player he had once been. And it was also at this point where things somehow turned even worse, as you are about to hear one of the ugliest stories the NBA has ever seen. Because you see, being in the NBA gave Eddie a sense of stability that he quite simply did not have once retirement came knocking at his door. Which meant in 1987, Eddie Johnson would be arrested for attempting to sell $20 worth of crack cocaine to an undercover police officer. It was also during this time that the NBA would ban him for life. In this same year of 1987, Eddie was also arrested in Atlanta for passing a bad check, aggravated assault, theft, battery, and abandonment of a child. Then, in August of 1989, he was arrested for breaking into 2 houses. There was also the one time where Eddie Johnson punched an officer in the face several times. Another where Eddie would steal $98 worth of clothes from Target. And
come on now.
This really goes on. Eventually, Eddie would somehow rack up over 100 arrests. And I think everyone at this point watching this video has gotten the book. I mean,
100 arrests.
That number seems improbable, but somehow
No,
Eddie
that's possible.
Johnson managed to do. Now, looking at this situation, it was clear that Eddie Johnson had several mental problems and drug issues and needed help, but
he probably played with black Air Force on, man. We all know he played with black Air Force on replay, bro. He's over here doing this, we all know.
Worse, because Eddie was arrested for breaking into a hotel room and
hold on.
25-year-old. Now, in this case, breaking into a hotel room and a 25-year-old woman. Now, in this case, that word does have to be removed because of YouTube's guidelines. However, I didn't want to downplay the word and make it seem like he did less than he did, and I think many of you know what I am alluding to. With this in mind, somehow, despite having over 100 arrests, Eddie was let go on bond.
Yeah, like, I don't know how he could get out.
Then, not even 2 months later, he was arrested for again. For this crime, it was reported he broke into an apartment and an 8-year-old. This is horrible, disgusting, and reprehensible. It is possibly the worst crime an NBA player has ever been accused of. I think you can tell by my tone of voice exactly what I think it is. To make things even worse though here, unfortunately, a lot of you guys may know that there was another NBA player named Eddie Johnson who was not a criminal, and unfortunately, multiple national news outlets reported that it was that Eddie Johnson who was the one who was causing this trouble. This led to his professional career almost being ruined as he was bombed.
His face skin just won't go straight. My face can't go straight. Oh my god. Tight right there. Yeah, but that's basically the video. Alright, let's start going for it. I'm just gonna scrim. And watch videos to my thing. Man. Console dominate pros. Gotta see this. It's a console controller, please, because people need to spin out.
Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over a pretty huge milestone for controller Fortnite, which happened a few days ago. For those of you guys who missed it because it didn't get a ton of attention, there was actually a pretty large Fortnite LAN event that took place last weekend. And the main reason a lot of people missed it was because the event was held at the Australian Open, which, as the name suggests, is obviously in Australia. And this means that the games were just going to be played at pretty weird times for many parts of the world. I remember on the final day when the most important matches were being held, it was like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So obviously that was just a no-go for a ton of people. But that doesn't undermine the fact that it was an absolutely stacked event featuring tons of top-level pros with lots of money on the line. And even if you didn't watch this event live, you may have heard that the winner of the tournament was a guy named Brezzo. Since the main region he plays on is Oceania, not many people at all had heard of him before this event. But the most interesting and controversial thing about Brezzo as a player is that he actually plays on controller. And as crazy as this may sound, Brezzo was actually the first controller player to win a major tournament in the history of competitive Fortnite. Well, actually that isn't totally true, since Unknown was part of the team that placed first in the online FNCS Squads tournament, but since that squad also had 3 keyboard and mouse players on it, I think there's a big difference between that and Brezzo winning a solo LAN tournament. Another really interesting thing about Brezzo that I think a lot of you guys specifically will appreciate is that he's actually one of the top earners on console Fortnite. Now sadly, he's not a main console player because that would make it even more awesome, but he did go back to console for the Winter Royale as well as 1 or 2 cash cups, and my goodness did he dominate. According to Fortnite Tracker, he has just under $18,000 in earnings on just console, which actually puts him at number 4 behind 60 FPS with a Dream, his Duo, and Merc in Cartoon.
Yeah,
so
I might
winning
play
this
this
huge
console.
stacked LAN event was a really awesome kind of underdog story because no one was expecting him to really stand a chance. And it was especially cool to see for controller and console players because there was this sense of awesome, one of our kind finally got a huge tournament win on LAN. But unfortunately, not everybody felt that same way. A lot of keyboard and mouse players specifically used Brezzo winning as a way to further their agenda of saying controller is now better than keyboard and mouse, and also that it's overpowered and needs to be nerfed. However, I think using Brezzo winning this event as proof of that is pretty stupid, honestly, and also it's even a bit disrespectful for a variety of different reasons. And without further ado, let's get into more details about why that is. So here are just a few quick examples of what I mean by this hate against Brezzo. Here's a tweet from LGB Hive where, in response to Brezzo winning, he says, "Ever since controller players got really good at building, they've been winning everything. They build the same speed as PC, but with 100% consistent aim and no bloom, not competitive." Then you have Liquid Stretch tweet, "Controller players at a disadvantage, copy and pasted 6 different times," which I'm guessing is probably the max amount that Twitter would allow him to do before he ran out of characters. And then finally, you have Macwood tweeting pretty much the same exact thing that Stretch said, "Controller players will say they're at a disadvantage though." Now, the most obvious argument here that I've already seen a ton of people use is, if controller isn't at a disadvantage, well then why the heck did it take over 2 years for a controller player to actually win a major tournament? And I agree that definitely is a good and very valid point, but you can also go so much further than that. First off, one of the biggest kinda stereotypes about controller players in competitive Fortnite is that they're incredibly kill dependent. People say they aren't as smart and don't have as much game sense as the top keyboard and mouse players, so their only chance to place well in stacked events is to play super aggressive and get a bunch of kills. But that couldn't be any further from the truth when you look at Brezzo's performance in this event. So first off, he absolutely dominated the event, recording 52 total points, while second place was 37 points, third place was 33, and top 10 was only 26, so he actually doubled that. But what makes it really unique was that out of his 52 total points, 35 of them were placement points, and only 17 of them were elimination points. So that means even without getting a single kill, he would have placed second, and as long as he got at least 3 kills, he still would have won the entire event. And I know a lot of these complaints by keyboard and mouse players were probably them just trying to get likes and retweets, but it still kind of rubbed me the wrong way. This is a kid that definitely trained and practiced so much for this event, and all his hard work came to fruition and resulted in him winning a pretty life-changing amount of money. That's just such an awesome thing to see, and it's sad that people tried to use it to make some kind of statement about aim assist or controller Fortnite in general. And I saw a great tweet from Upshaw that some...
Yo, I love Heather. Space for ourselves. Things up there. Got the challenges here, so. Make money talking for you. I think my thing is outdated. Hold on, where What does this do? Nice one. I'm gonna put Kurly on my thing. Oh, what colors do I want my keyboard? I don't know. Make some money talking for you. What the heck? Okay. I vibe with this. Let me put purple. Okay, my keyboard's definitely vibing right now. I guess I put my thing on here. Where is it? What the heck? Okay. Gonna do something. Let me see. Bro, just click my image. Make it so. You know, I'm at these other face cam board. I don't know. Boys, yeah, I'm gonna warm up. Then I'm gonna scrim, but like I honestly, I honestly don't even know if there are any scrims right now. It's the only thing. And I'm gonna stream real quick, and then I'm gonna start it back when I find something to do because I never knew.